that I forced to watch duck porn for 26 minutes. Matthew fucking Mercer. I'm not going to tell you what he's here for, but he can do that.
Describe the duck porn.
Here for duck porn!
Describe it graphically.
So we get all the mics pointing this way.
We need more mics. Duck porn!
Sure. What? Yeah, alright. I heard the screaming back there and was like, who the? Oh, it's Kevin. Yeah, probably. So if we're going to do this right, I'm going to kick this off by properly opening this delightfully gifted Yuling traditional lager. And proceed to double fist it with chai latte. And a little back home, a little LA, so kind of mix it up for me.
Chug, 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 chug.
That kind of works. Holy shit, guys. Seriously, chai and I'm just saying. Recommend it. And if it doesn't work, I said nothing. So anyway, hello everyone. How's everyone doing? Right, awesome, cool. Who here this is their first MAGFest? Raise your hand. Oh, welcome to the chaos, my friends. MAGFest is largely my favorite event every year because I grew up a hardcore nerd gamer. And this is the mecca, the gathering, the ultimate pinnacle of our community coming together to drink and play games all weekend. It's awesome. Yeah. So welcome, and you'll enjoy yourself. If you don't, then you'll disappear in the desert somewhere. So, this is largely a general Q&A storytelling panel. So, let me start with a little bit of history on me. For those of you, anyone who have no idea who I am? No. Oh, yeah, there you go, got a couple back there.
I'll pretend.
Good.
You took my phone last year.
Basically, it was whether or not I give the long or the short answer to the front. My name is Matt. There we go.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Matt.
But yeah, so thank you all for coming. I'm an actor from Los Angeles, primarily known for voiceover and cartoons and video games. Projects you may know me from as Leon Kennedy in Resident Evil 6 and Damnation. Alvin in Tales of Exilia. There we go, awesome. Crom in Fire Emblem Awakening. And kind of in Smash Brothers, like, not there.
There's always next game.
Wedged in.
It'll be DLC, man.
Here's hoping. They can DLC Mewtwo, they can DLC Crom, right?
It's always
Also made a web series years ago named There Will Be Brawl, which was a live-action kind of film noir HBO crime drama version of the Smash Brothers Nintendo universe. And it was actually the reason I came to my first MAGFest. I was a guest for that web series, so it's a special place in my heart for this event. But yes, so that's kind of where my background stems. Lots of really fun, cool projects coming up. Let's see what I can talk about. I think I can talk about it now. Anyone here looking forward to the game Evolve coming out next month?
Yes.
I voiced the third Trapper, revealed Abe, who has the awesome handlebar mustache and hat. And, he's kind of a fun tool of a character. So that's coming out soon. Let's see what else I can talk about. I'm in Destiny. They even played a human male. You heard my 7 lines as the human male. Like they really decided to encompass the silent male protagonist.
At least you sound more excited than Peter Dinklage.
Yeah. Peter Dinklage. Hey, you know.
JoJo. You're in JoJo, right?
Yeah, it's Jotaro Kujo. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Star Wars Crusaders.
Yeah.
And Guilty Gear is Zato 1. I love this. They have my cards. For those who watch cartoons and stuff, I'm currently voicing Iron Man in a number of animated Marvel features. I have a Netflix film coming up soon. I don't know if I can talk about that yet. But anyway, also for anime fans out there, is Levi in Attack on Titan. Which apparently, I guess in Japan, they just released at Universal Studios an Attack on Titan exhibit with like an entire 2-scale, 45-foot tall, like Titan Eren and female Titan fighting. And then they have real, like, life-size interpretations of some of the characters in the show, which works really cool until you get to Armin and some of the younger characters, because seeing a really realistic sculpture of a human being with eyes that large and nose that small is immediate nightmare fuel. I recommend you look it up. I was on Kotaku. I was waking up first thing in the morning. I'm scrolling through. But yes, anyway, so this panel is kind of an open conversation about geek life, geek community, a place that's very near and dear to me, what it means to be a geek, and kind of how that community has transitioned over the past 20, 30 plus years. Now, and I can say it largely, like just looking at the people that come to MAGFest every year as it expands and grows, it's just even that much more of a welcoming, awesome experience to see how many people from different walks of life come here and just look at each other, whether they be tall, small, IT guys or heavy metal rockers, all of them just kind of come here with a drink in hand and be like, yeah, man, fucking love Crash Bandicoot, and that's MAGFest for an entire weekend. It's great. Also, I'm not sure if this is a family-oriented panel, but I think I've already blown the lid off that, so I think we're fine going forward. Whatever, it's fine. But yeah, so I guess let's go ahead, let's start the rolling here. If anyone has a question, feel free to raise your hand, I'll point you out, and then shout it from the depths of your soul. You, sir, in the corner.
Yeah, I have a question.
What's the question?
It has nothing to do with design.
Okay, curses.
So I remember when Ultimax came out, or when it first came out, they promoted it with you facing Alex Valle on, I think it was the first 5, I think it was?
Yes.
Yeah, so how did you prepare for that before going into it, and what was it like getting bodied by it?
Okay, so for those who couldn't hear, when the release of Persona 4 Arena Ultimax came out, which was a fun project, being able to pick up the mantle of Kanji Tatsumi, and they had found out through the recording process that I used to play Tournament Street Fighter back in high school, back in the old days of the late 90s. I know some of you may not have been alive. But in high school, I used to go up to San Francisco at the B3 tournaments, get my ass kicked by all the Sunnyvale kids. It was legit. I wasn't legit, but it was legit. It was fun to kind of pretend I was part of the big game. But so I mentioned that Alex Valle, me and him fought a couple times in that tournament, and he knocked me out. And I was like, that's a cool thing. So I used to read his strategy guides and stuff. And of course, the producers were like, oh, well, we actually work with him a lot. Let's go ahead and do a grudge match. I'm like, I've never played this game. I don't know, okay. I'm really good at Alpha 3. Can we do Alpha 3? And I'm promoting Alpha 3? Okay, fine. So then they had us go to this classic arcade, tournament arcade they run over in Los Angeles. And they had this build up with us doing videos, me being taught by the greats how to play kanji in the game. And thankfully, I have enough fighting game experience so I can pick it up pretty quick. But nevertheless, there was no intent to win because there was no way I could. So we had a fun kind of just a showdown match, best of 5. It was really cool to see him again. He didn't remember me at all because I was one of the teenage filth he destroyed back in his heyday. That's fine. But it was really cool to kind of catch up with him. He was a really awesome guy. We talked a bit, then we got down to the actual grudge match, and I got around. I beat Alex Valle for a single round after only a week of training at Persona Arena Ultimax. That's all I wanted. Would have been enough of a fight where I felt pretty legit about it, and then he proceeded to smoke me for the rest of the rounds. But that's fine. I got what I wanted out of it. We had a good time. We had a lot of cool people come out and show support for the project, and now we follow each other on Twitter. Which is kind of like being married, I think. Right? It's comparable. Following each other on Twitter is legal in some states, okay? So it's fine. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Good. Awesome. Beer break. Chai break. For a break. All right. All right. Next question. You, sir, in the front.
Hi. I bumped into you. I was very drunk last year. I don't know if you remember me.
Just to be fair, there's a lot of bumping into a lot of people very drunk at MAGFest.
It was on an elevator. I guess sort of following up, Kanji is a character appreciated by a lot of people. A lot of people love him for who he is. And
which character is this?
Kanji Tatsumi.
Kanji, yes.
You've done a fantastic job taking up the mantle. And sort of based off that, I'm not sure, how does asking for reprisal of roles happen in the voiceover industry? Do people call you and say, hey, you did a role last year, do you want to do that for another game, or?
Okay, so the question was, how does reprising a role you previously done in a game generally occur? And it ranges from project to project. A lot of the time, if you've done a character, they'll want to have you back for it. So they'll contact you the year or so later, they'll begin recording for the next property, and they'll be like, hey, are you available? And they'll go through the usual questions to make sure you still want to do it. And most actors would say yes. The only really drawback is scheduling. And like, for instance, Troy Baker, who originally voiced Kanji, did an incredible job, as he always does. He found himself in a position where he's too popular, he's too good, and he's in too many properties. And as a human being, there's only so much time bending you can do to be as available to do so many things. So that's the kind of problem you want to have. And so he was doing so well that some of the roles he wasn't able to reprise. But me and Troy are friends, and we both kind of have a similar range. So I was lucky enough to be knocked on and asked if I would be able to take over the role for him. And so I did so, and it's not only was it a big honor, a great challenge too. Stepping into a character that already has a pre-established fan base, especially with the previous voice actor, it's a very daunting task, because then you have an entire rabid fan base going like, just waiting for you to mess it up. You need to say one line, motherfucker, and I'm gonna tear you down on Tumblr so fast. Like, they're waiting to pounce. So keeping that in mind and really enjoying the character and wanting to pay homage to what Troy had done, but also kind of bring a little bit of my own flavor to it, as an actor is wont to do. I took on that challenge, did the best I could, and hopefully you guys appreciate it. I love the character, and I love what he means, not just as a fun, brash personality, but like his own personal struggle, kind of dealing with his own sexuality and his own confusion in his teenage years. I think was a really, really great connection point for a lot of people that I knew growing up with that had similar moments. They themselves were trying to figure out where they really fit in the world and the black and white that they were raised with. And I thought it was really cool that he's a character people can connect with in that level and kind of help them through that journey. I've had a number of people come up to me and mention that at different conventions, that Kanji was a character that helped them discover who they really wanted to be. And I thought that was really, really cool. So I cherish the character, and I hope if he continues to show up, I'll have the opportunity to continue. Very long-winded answer to your question.
Thank you for the answer. It's very
good.
good.
No worries. Next question. Anyone? Don't be shy. Yes, in the back, and we'll come to you in the front.
Who is the best Golden Girl and why is it Blanche?
I feel like I've heard this question before. The best Golden Girl is Blanche. Thanks for answering my own question. You handle a Q&A outside after this. And as to why, I think it's because she's really, really good at hiding the bodies. Season 2, guys, go back and rewatch it. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a great subtext the entire show. The other 3 Golden Girls have been dead the whole time. Then she's the prettiest. You know, if you're into that thing, she milks for life. No. You had a question?
Yes. I know, like, there's a lot of, like, non-disclosure agreements and all that, but are you allowed to talk about your role in Type 0 yet, or no?
Ah, yes. So, for those who aren't familiar with what an NDA is, it's a non-disclosure agreement, which is a paper you sign when you start working on a project or a property. It basically tells them, if I talk about this when I'm not supposed to yet, you will sue me, and I cannot be part of any of your properties again. It's a very bad thing. As far as Type 0 goes, they've already announced the characters and some of the cast, and so I can say, I'm excited. It'll be in a Final Fantasy property, and one that kind of is really well received in Japan. So, as a long-time Final Fantasy fan, that's a really cool part. And the character, Trey, who I play in that, is an archer. And so me also being a huge fantasy nerd and loving longbows and shit like that, I was like, yeah, that's cool. Gonna have some weird Final Fantasy, like cyber mace spear weapon or whatever they make up for the property. Gonna just have a good old-fashioned longbow. Plus, when I recorded it, we kind of had the same hair, just a blonder version, so the producer gave me shit for that. But yeah, it was really, really cool to be part of that project. And they expanded, I guess they've expanded upon it, bringing it over here for the US release. They've up-resed the graphics, they've added some stuff in, so I went back to do some pre-recording to throw some new scenes in, and I'm stoked. I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I have a PS4.
Well, now you have a reason to look forward to one, right? Yes. Next question. Yes.
This is like more of a question. I think it's accurate with someone like Levi compared to someone like Alvin and Cecilia, like how Alvin's more of a I'm kind of a bad guy, but I'm really bad, while Levi's more, I guess you could say, cold-hearted and straight. Like, what's it like to do, like between them? Is it like harder to do?
Okay. So the question is, what's it like, and what is the process in jumping between characters with very different personalities? For example, Alvin and Levi. Part of what's fun about training as an actor is you begin to break down the essence of character archetypes, where it's not just like playing a hero. You have to think, where does the hero come from? What experiences have they had in their life that kind of forge them in this direction? What are their goals? What are their fears? And you kind of really formulate this whole concept of that character. And then from that, you have a point to branch out and perform. That's how you can get a cool spectrum of elements to a personality. If a character is very one note, it's not very interesting, both as a performer and as a listener. But even if you aren't told those aspects by the project, you can make up your own ideas, and from there you can make nice, concise character choices in the booth. Alvin is a fun character, for instance, because he's a very laid-back kind of, as they call him, the mercenary with the heart of gold. He's takes life as it is and just hopes that as you're traveling along, maybe we'll find some adventure, a little bit of money on the side. And, I got a few ladies in the town here and there. Maybe I'll stop by and say hey. So he's got that kind of lackadaisical attitude, but at the heart of that too, he has a very dark past, a lot of personal pain and loss in his history, and so being able to take those moments and punch them through that exterior that he keeps is a fun challenge. But Alvin is a closer character to my personality than, say, Levi. Levi's a very cold, dark character, but I believe also at the heart of him, he is a very emotional person, but he's trained himself to keep it very close to the chest, very hidden, very military, very don't show your cards type feeling. He's in a world where anyone around him can die instantly, so he tries not to get attached to anyone. And even some of those that you do, no spoilers, you can see even in those brief moments, as much as he tries to hide it, there's still a sense of shock and loss in those moments. And so it's fun to play a character who's very close to his chest, very vulgar, and very just doesn't give a shit about the world around him. He just wants to do what he's going to do, and maybe if someone want to come along, that's fine. But the few people that he respects as well, he's very strongly adheres to, and that's kind of another aspect that makes him such a cool character. If he didn't have that sense of honesty and loyalty to those people, or that kind of underlying sense of honor and kind of a mentorship with Aaron, no one would like him because he's kind of a dick. I mean, you get to watch him beat the living crap out of the main character in the middle of a court scene, and you still like him. And the reason is because there are those moments where not only is he just a badass, but you can see that there are bits of humanity to him that he just keeps very well guarded. And so same thing, transition between those type of characters is, before you go into record, you prepare yourself, you put yourself in that mindset, you kind of pour over that character's background, and especially if you've already recorded it once before, you kind of just rediscover that headspace and get into that emotional place and coast there for the next 4 hours of recording. I mean, you learn over time to gear shift pretty quick if you have to switch between characters. Sometimes it's fun to spend 2 hours in the booth, recording a dark, evil entity, and all of a sudden have to switch into like the crazy shopkeeper for a while. That's fun, right? And it's good to gear shift and kind of stretch yourself that way, but each shift in itself is still a little bit of quick choices to be made as an actor. So, once again, very roundabout, obtuse answer to your very concise question. I apologize. Just a second, beer break. Alrighty. Aw, thank you guys. This is so positive today. I like this. Alrighty. Next question. Go ahead, you sir.
How much fun was doing Hot Pepper Gaming, and for how many days afterwards were you in complete misery?
So for those who haven't seen it or aren't aware, the best YouTube channel in the world is Hot Pepper Gaming, where guests have to eat some hellish form of life-melting pepper and cannot receive any sort of milk or calming agent until they have 2.5 minutes to review a game they've recently played. I don't know how or why I was convinced this would be a good idea, especially as a person who is not a purveyor of peppers in any way, shape, or form. Like, I avoid jalapenos. It's just not a thing. Nothing that I necessarily don't like. I just avoided it. It's green, so I don't eat it. I was very much one of those kids growing up. I'm like, vegetables, fuck that. So peppers just seemed like, oh, vegetables and it hurts you? Why would I do that? Why would I ever do that? So went on the show, decided to jump into a ghost pepper because I'm stupid.
Oh God.
It's all on YouTube. You guys can enjoy to your heart's content my suffering. And it hurt. It hurt a lot. It hurt a lot. But the professional me was like, I have to get this done. I have to finish the review. But it was so much pain, like this weird dulling pain, that all of a sudden reality just doesn't have a connecting point anymore. It's just faces screaming at you. That I went over the 2.5 minute limit to like 5 minutes. Like I forgot there was a limit. I thought like, I'm dead. This is the end. This is the rest of it. Is this forever? I'm just gonna be in like a rocking chair in a home 30 years from now, just still burning.
Still talking about that review.
Still, exactly.
Your shirt was cool.
And so yeah, that happened. Well, I found out why people eat hot peppers. Because it burns. But like half an hour, an hour later, the endorphins kick in, and that's a fun time. They're like, oh, I don't know, that's fine, sit down, I'm just enjoying this. So I found out I like peppers after that. I discovered it on the show. A day later, it wasn't a friend either. The funny thing about eating peppers is it's a process. Like it sucks going in, and boy, does it suck going out. There are heat receptors in places you never knew were there. It's a whole learning experience. However, depending on how I'm feeling, there is a hot pepper Q&A this weekend, and they've invited me to be part of the panel. We'll see if that happens. It's what could possibly go wrong, right? One way or another, I'm probably gonna go back and do it again because I'm a masochist. And I might have to step it up. I may have to go like Carolina Reaper, like the next level.
God, go chocolate bootla.
That's right. I suffer for your pleasure.
Holding you to that.
Okay, there we go. All right, next question. Is there anyone over here? You'll sit at the front.
I'll be in the front. Okay, so you've done characters that have had previous voice actors, and then you do someone like Chrome, who you're the first voice we hear from that character.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have like any higher sense of pride for characters that like you kind of take possession of?
The question is, do I have a higher sense of pride for characters that I originated as opposed to ones that I take over? Depends on the character. If it's a character that I already have a pre-established appreciation for, like Kanji or Leon Kennedy, those are characters that I appreciated and really had a personal connection with before that. So then that's a huge honor. It's also more of a daunting challenge. But there is something prideful about taking a character out of the ether and then making them live and breathe, essentially. Even though most of Crom is, what? Huh? Yeah. Well, but the cutscenes were cool, those were fun to do. But like for me, there is a point of pride in creating a character and giving it life and knowing that you were what established that personality and their rhythm, kind of just their essence in general. So I do enjoy that thoroughly. There's a lot of really cool characters coming up soon that I can't talk about, but I've had the chance to originate and kind of start with it. I'm like, just pay attention to Twitter. I'll be saying stuff soon. And there are other characters, like even recently, I've taken over the mantle for a couple of characters in a property I can't talk about that I've been playing for 10 plus years. And it's just one of those things where it's like, it's a really cool kind of nerd full circle in that regard. Like doing a Smash Brothers web series and then 5 years later being in Smash Brothers is, what? It's dumb. My little 8-year-old self is just like, are you kidding me? So yeah, like both sides have their prideful aspects, and as a huge geek, I tend to be more invested in a lot of my projects than some people. Yeah, they're prideful in two different ways, I guess. No worries. This whole hand over here. Yes, you there. What's your question? Yes. I'm playing Fire Emblem Awakening. I'm not completed with it. I have not got to the married part yet. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, is her name Ophelia? Is that her name, Ophelia?
Cordelia?
No.
What hair color?
Maybe that's it. No, she's the one with the Pegasus and the crazy, what's her name?
Cordelia.
Cornelia, it's Cornelia, thank you. My brain's, more beer. I went for her since they had the cutscene where she saves you from the battle engine in the backseat and Crom's all flushed face. He's like, hi. He got saved. He was the damsel in distress, and she swoops in as the knight and carries him away. I'm like, that's kind of cool. It doesn't happen very often in games. Usually it's the male hero that has to save the day. No, he was totally like, help! Help! And she's like, I'll save you, Crom. It's like, my hero. I wanted to kind of hook up with Kellum because then actually people would remember him. Give him an excuse to be prominent in the game for once. People would be like, oh yeah, no, it's the guy that Crom married, okay. Poor guy. No, maybe an inside joke on that was the actual game cover. I don't know if you've noticed. All the characters are like jumping into battle, and Kellum's in there, but Crom's foot is just covering his face. My friend Orion, who voices him, I pointed that out to him, and he's like, like, yeah. So yeah, when I get there, I'll let you know. I may end up, because I chose a female Robin, so I might end up just hooking them up. But then it feels weird because then I'm marrying myself, and it's this weird kind of cyclical narcissism in the game. Especially if I end up not liking Crom, because like, as much as I played the game, I like him, but there's a lot of people who at conventions have been like, Crom's an asshole! And I'm like, okay. I need to steer clear of that guy. Thanks for the warning. It's like a friend at a bar telling you, yeah, don't talk to that guy in the corner, you know? So we'll see. Although I had a few people say that like Crom just marries someone randomly if you don't actually choose somebody.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've also had friends like text me and be like, "You bitch, I was courting you this whole time, and you go off with this son of floozy I've never heard of before." I'm like, "Hey, should have put a ring on it earlier." But as soon as I finally get to that point, I'll let you know. Next question. Hello, yes, you. So I really enjoyed Leon Kennedy, and the reason is I've played every Resident Evil beforehand. I used to come home from high school to play the first, Resident Evil with a really, really shitty voiceover, slow motion tank-like spinning gameplay. Almost a Jill sandwich, like that kind of stuff. It was great. It's great. Master of Unlocking, like there's so many beautiful moments in that game. And then going from there and advancing through all the series, stars, and going through a whole circumstance of 4, which was the big breakout for me. So it was the Return of Leon Kennedy, and that was like a great game, like the first real like good third-person over-the-shoulder shooter, good atmosphere. So being able to take over that role for me was a personal nerd boner. It was awesome. It was being able to step into a character that I already really appreciated. Once again, also very daunting because pre-established fan base, already loved the character, was friends with the previous voice actor, so it was one of those like, okay, better not mess this up. Okay, so I did a lot of research, a lot of listening to previous performances, and kind of taking what was there, addressing what has happened to him in the midterm between the previous game. Because in 4, Leon was more kind of cocksure and, devil may care attitude, take what comes at me, I'll do what's required to get it done. But in 6, he's a little more world weary and a little more like, everything I've done is to change nothing, And so wanting to take that arc to him was a fun challenge. But yeah, I loved it. It was great.
Is there another question? It doesn't always have to be about video games either. I'm a fan of comic books, I'm a fan of tabletop role-playing games. I'm currently running a Dungeons & Dragons campaign with a bunch of other voiceover actors that we're hoping to be putting on Twitch streams soon, so yeah.
Oh, now all the hands go up, I love that. There's multiple hands! All right, we'll start in the back and work our way to the front to you, Sam. So. Yes? We get her out of the room here, move her. She's not supposed to be here. She's actually on the list of people you're not supposed to let mention security. Security. Every single time. It's not just one, I got like 4 of them that keep showing up.
That was still weak. Yeah.
I'm a classy gentleman. And Wesker's one of them. Every single time.
So tell us about this new game, Loadout, that you
Loadout, I got a chance to work on a web series for it, actually. This is from Machinima Prime. We got to do a kind of a sci-fi spin-off web series. It was a lot of fun. I got to work with Richard Hatch, for those of you who aren't familiar with him. He was Apollo in the original Battlestar Galactica, and then played Tom Zarek in the new Battlestar Galactica reboot a few years ago. And he is awesome. We chatted extensively because I'm a huge geek and a fan of his for a long time. So getting to work with him on that was great. The production team was great, and who knows? Maybe we'll see more of it in the near future. But Loadout is a very, very interesting game for those who haven't played it. It's very like cartoony, caricature, vulgar, over the top, crazy kind of team-based shooter. It's a lot of fun. And we try to take as much of that as we could and turn it into a narrative with people that aren't proportionally crazy, ridiculous, over the top. So you got one in there. It worked out well. It was a fun project. All right, I had a question here in the front. I believe you had your hand up earlier.
Oh yeah, I just want to know what comics you're reading.
What comics I'm reading? I'm just getting into Saga now.
Oh
yeah. It's been recommended so many times, and I had like 3 people be like, borrow my copy, and I'm like, fine, fine. So I'm loving it. I'm a Marvel guy through and through. I like Gotham and DC, but I don't know, the rest of this universe doesn't really speak to me. I understand it. I find Superman is a very droll character, was written properly, and a few writers have done him justice. My friend Max wrote a comic about a year ago that was like Superman meeting Joker for the first time. And that was one of the first times anyone ever wrote Superman properly. So, but yeah, I'm a Marvel guy. I am kind of spooked by this whole Secret Wars blending of the Ultimate and 626 universes.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. As long as it doesn't end up being another 52.
Yeah,
New 52.
Like
Exactly. So I'm like, oh, God. Well, you know, the good news is Marvel's doing so well, they don't need to make any super risky maneuvers, so I don't think they're trying too hard to, destroy the whole universe because they have no other choice. I think they're trying to protect their properties, so I think at least they'll be intelligent about it. Mind you, those are famous last words for most comic book industry companies over the past 30 years, so fingers crossed.
I think they're pretty safe.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right. They're not going to go anywhere. They're part of the Disney New World Order. It's slowly consuming and taking over from there, so. But yeah, also, apparently I'm freaking out here. Oh, I have him no delivery. A lovely delivery, lady. Another round of applause, everyone. Also, coming out February 2nd, is a good friend of mine, Scott McCloud's graphic novel called The Sculptor. It's like a 400-something page magnum opus he's been working on for 5-6 years, and it's brilliant. And I had the pleasure of essentially modeling the lead character of the comic form. So we did like countless photo shoots, and there's elements of his main character, David, that you can see me kind of peek through at times. But it's a great book, very, very heartfelt. If any of you read Blankets or anything that's more of like a modern day classic kind of just storytelling, day in the life type of graphic novel, it's a good type of, it's in that genre with like a hint of superpower to it, but it's all based in reality. And no, I'm not quite sure who the publisher is. Scott McCloud is known very, very well. He's the writer of Understanding Comics, Reinventing Comics, and Making Comics, which are kind of like college curriculum courses for anyone in an illustration program. So, so look for it. The Sculptor comes out February 2nd. It's really good. Highly recommend it. The other question, then we'll get to you in the back, swanky scarf boy. Yes.
Anyone pick it up in hard work, or do you think talent has a lot to do with it? To see like 1 or 2 people grab a lot of roles and do this like across the board. I'm just not certain if your talent perspective is before, or do you think work hard at it to get it?
So the question was, as far as getting into voiceover, making a career out of it, how much is talent, how much is preparation? Like, can anyone put the work into it, make a career out of it? I think talent helps and it gives you a boost at the start, but so much of it is training, so much of it is preparation, so much of it is taking it seriously. And voice acting, the voice part is 10% of it. The 90% is the acting part. For anyone who's like, I can do funny voices, I should get into voice acting. That's cool. Everyone can do funny voices, but can you make the character live and breathe? Can you break down the essence of the script? Can you cold read? Can you, have you done enough scene study where you can break down what happens before and after a scene sequence? Can you understand through a quick read on a couple bits of dialogue what a character relationship is? These are the things that you train as an actor, whether it be through theater or on camera. Many different means of acting techniques can help you out with that. But look, I've been doing theater since I was in middle school. Community theater, I've been training in all sorts of acting workshops, and I've only recently carved a career out of it. And there are a lot of people I know that are putting in the work who started in a very rough place. People who came up to me 7-8 years ago who were kind of up and comers, at a convention, and like, I want to get into voiceover, here's my demo, and I hear it, and I'm like, that's good, a little rusty, here's some suggestions, take these classes, talk to this voice actor, he's running some great classes. They come to me 6 years later and they're amazing, and they're booking work. And really what a lot of it is confidence, which comes through experience and just getting used to being behind the mic and being asked to dance monkey now. Because that's what it is. You don't get the scripts in advance for most properties. You walk into a sound booth, which is like creepy quiet. All sound is just deafened and nullified. You have a glass window with about anywhere from 3 to 6 people on the other side that are all staring at you going, okay, be perfect, go. And that's my daily life. And so it just comes through experience of being comfortable with that, being comfortable with yourself, and spending enough time working in front of an audience or in front of strangers to the point where that doesn't affect you anymore. The nerves don't really kick in as strongly as they would normally, that you can deliver that quickly. And those are all things that come with experience, and that's most of it. And you don't need to have silly voices either. There are many actors out there that have one voice, but they book everything. H. Sean Benjamin, voice of Archer. You know, like he does a lot of work, and he has pretty much one voice, but it's a great, unique voice. But he's a really talented comedian, and he's a great actor, and he's been doing it for a long time. Pam Adlon also is the voice of like Bobby Hill, and she's done a bunch of cartoon stuff. Same thing, she has kind of that one raspy female voice that she can skew a little younger with, like Bobby Hill, but she works constantly. And that's all because they're great performers, and they know how to deliver. So I think talent helps initially, but honestly, if you work hard and you train hard as an actor, get the experience, do the theater training, do the scene study training, do the character study training, get in some great classes and work towards it, that is far more important and can bring anyone up to that playing field. Because it is competitive. And there are a lot of people I see waiting for it to happen. They're like, well, I took a couple classes, so why aren't I booking? It's like, well, no, you're still working. Like, I'm still learning, I'm still training, I'm still finding people that have been doing this longer than me and trying to find what they can teach me to improve myself as an actor and as a person. You know, you should never rest on your laurels. You're always about improving yourself and getting better. But yeah, that's, in my opinion, if you have the right mindset and you take the training seriously, the talent won't matter at a certain point, because all talent is a knack for the final product. If that makes sense. No worries. All right, see you in the back.
Can you tell me more about Lord Masamune and what that means to you?
Lord Masamune is a historical figure in ancient Japan. He was a swordsmith that was responsible, Masamune was a swordsmith known for creating legendary metals into weapons. The actual classic Masamune you see in many Final Fantasy and JRPG games is based on the historical... Hold on, I'm answering your question. It's my panel, goddammit. Fucking kid comes over from the East Coast, he's gonna take my panel. Alright, so he made weapons, they were cool, they're historical, they're worth a lot, they're museums. Lord Date Masamune was an actual Japanese feudal lord who they then based a character on in the popular Sengoku Basara series of games and anime, who had one eye. Lord Masamune you're referring to was a nerdy-ass kid in the early 2000s who used to dress in Final Fantasy costumes at conventions. But the mystery resides that he somehow mysteriously vanished around 2007, 2008 and hasn't been seen or heard from since. So we're hoping he's okay. If you see him out there, there's phone numbers you can call and a few websites out there. Let his parents know he's fine. Such an asshole. Question.
So, you established that you're a huge nerd.
Yes, huge nerd.
And you've had the chance to work with these, like, brilliant voice actors. Were there any times where you had to, like, struggle to stop from, like, freaking out or, like, feel yourself?
So the question is, have there been any points where I've worked with other really prominent voice actors and actors and get me with nerves or I had to struggle to push through? Yes, it still happens occasionally. I'll never forget, I had the opportunity to work on the Cartoon Network Thundercats that came out a few years ago, which was near and dear to me because I grew up watching the original Thundercats, and so I got to play Tiger on that series, and I was really excited to book it. I was like, all right, cool. No idea what I was in for. My first major Western animation, like prelay property. So I go and drive onto the Warner Brothers lot at their ADR6 studio where they do all the Warner Brothers cartoon recording. And the first person I meet is the director, Andrea Romano. For those who aren't familiar with her, she's like one of the most legendary cartoon directors of all time. She directed Animaniacs and Tiny Toons. She directed a lot of the original Batman animated series, almost all the Justice League and DC properties that have come out since then. She's directed all those, plenty of other cartoons. It's incredible the repertoire that she's directed. Like, I grew up on her directing. So I was already like, hi. She's like, oh, you're Matt, right? She's the one person in the cast she hasn't met before, doesn't know who they are. I was like the one kid they took a chance on. Thank God. And I'm like, cool. I walk into the booth, and the rest of the cast starts arriving, which included Kevin Michael Richardson, who's also in everything. If you look up his body of work, you'll know. Of course, I know him as the narrator in the first Baldur's Gate and Sabarok, so I was a huge nerd about that. Will Friedle, who is the Lino in the series, also the voice of Batman Beyond. Terry McGinnis, as well as many other great cartoons. He's currently the voice of Bumblebee in Transformers cartoon, but he was also in Boy Meets World for a long time and a bunch of other stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I love your work. And then in walks D. Bradley Baker, who's one of the most legendary voice actors out there, who I nerded out because I know him as Appa and Momo in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And in walks Corey Burton, who's been doing Disney stuff for forever, and I nerded out because I know him as Captain Hook and all these other great Disney characters. And it was just like this constant cavalcade of people that I've always admired. In my first 2 sessions, I sucked. I know this because once I finally got comfortable, we went back and re-recorded my lines for the first 2 episodes because it took me a while to be like, how am I here? I know they're all judging me. I know they're all going to realize this kid's a newbie in green and they're going to recast me. And thankfully it didn't happen. Once I got comfortable with it, I realized it was fine, because we're all just people. But there's always those moments where people you admire, you kind of have this weird, you put them on a pedestal, and you don't think of the fact that they also got up, ate a really cold bowl of cereal, took a crap, and then went to work. You know, we're all human beings. We're all normal, weird, vulgar animal creatures, and there's no reason to kind of keep that separation. You can admire their work, but don't let that affect you necessarily. But you can't help it sometimes. I had an episode of Thundercats where I got to work with Jim Cummings, who is the voice of Pooh and Tigger and Darkwing Duck. I mean, are you kidding me? That was my childhood. Every day, Disney afternoon, come home, watch Darkwing Duck after Gargoyles. It was great. Old Gargoyles, Tailspin, Darkwing Duck. There's a whole order there. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But I also knew him as Minsk from Baldur's Gate, who was one of my favorite characters in that series. Minsk, the adult ranger who had taken too many hits in the head and had a tiny hamster that he kept with him named Boo, who basically was his god. He would always say, like, what do you say? Boo says it's a bad idea, we should not do this. And I love the character. And the whole session of watching him like, Jim Cummings. Creepily staring at her from across the way. And the session ends, and we're all getting ready to leave, and he walks out, and we have like a brief couple exchanges, just like playful, like, hey, we're actors, And at the very end, I'm like, Mr. Cummings, already a great awkward way to start a conversation with somebody working with. Mr. Cummings, I just had to tell you, really, really admire your work, specifically as Minsk in Baldur's Gate, which came out like in 1999 and is like on the lower list of things he's known for. And he looks at me and kind of blinks his eyes for a second as he's trying to remember what the hell I'm talking about. And eventually goes, oh, wow. That's obscure. And I was like, not to me, but thank you. So yeah, it still happens. I did have Richard Chamberlain, who's an older actor who doesn't know of him, hit on me profusely during a session. That was really cute. I was like, oh, he likes him young. So I took that. That was a big boost to my self-confidence that day. But yeah, it never goes away really. Especially living in LA where you're like around people all the time. Like, it's Brad Pitt, I don't really care. Certain voice actors will still get me. I'll still trip up the hi. Next question. All right, you sir in the front and then we'll go to you.
Yeah, it's a voice actor.
Yes.
So, you guys live in pretty much the middle of nowhere by voice acting studio or studio standards, like say specifically, that's where I live. How aware would you go and do that?
Right, okay, so the question is, if you live kind of in the middle of nowhere where there aren't a lot of opportunities for studios and voiceover work, how would you go about looking into a career?
Yes, and I've done like the things over the internet. I actually just did my first page a couple days ago.
Congrats, man, that's awesome.
But for like, just, I think, yeah.
Yes. I think there are opportunities pretty much wherever you live to do voiceover, but they're largely local commercial work for radio. Because there are radio stations everywhere in the US. Well done, that was awesome. I felt that like in the cockles of my heart. I'm gonna raise my beer to that one. That was great. Proud of you. I'm really sincerely proud of you. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you so much. No, it was wonderful. I'm so sorry to all the rest of you here in this panel. They're like, oh my god, this is the most disgusting thing. I have a bunch of old friends in the back that are... All of it? We're gonna have to clean this chair. Sorry. To answer your question, it's disgusting. Welcome to MAGFest. To answer your question, there are opportunities locally for radio stations and such, and internet does have occasional paying gigs. Those you can do from pretty much anywhere, but to make a career out of it, to really kind of make enough money to make a difference, or to do it full time, you have to be where the work is. So it's one of those things where to make that jump, it's a life decision. You have to decide how much time and energy and training you've already put into it and are continue to put into it, and are you ready to step into that competitive market? Because to really make a living, you have to be living in either New York, Dallas, Austin area, or Los Angeles. Those are the places where most of the animation, video game stuff is cast. There is some opportunities in San Francisco, but the community there is also very tight. And a few other places throughout the US have small hubs of working developers. Down in Houston, there's also a company that does a lot of like the Gearbox, Borderlands games and stuff like that. But even they pull from the other major hubs, communities out there. So it's one of those things where you have to really want to make a career out of it, because you're going to have to move to one of those places to really make a living doing it. It's not easy, and this career has a lot of difficulty and a lot of rejection. Being an actor for a living, by the way, means constant rejection. You have to grow a thick skin. I consider myself now comparatively very successful to a lot of people. I've spent close to 8 or 9 years in LA living in a tiny, studio apartment in North Hollywood, finding very creative ways to flavor ramen for dinner to pursue this. And it's one of those things where even to this day, I maybe book 1 out of every 30 or so auditions that come through. And it's a better rate than I was 7 years ago, 1 out of every 50. So it's a lot of constant rejection, a lot of thank you, we'll call you, a lot of great, all right, next, and a lot of just waiting to hear back and then nothing. Because you don't get calls usually, like, sorry, we can pick somebody else. It just fades away into the ether. So the key is to do the job in the audition, do the best you can, then let it go. And look forward to the next challenge, the next project, the next opportunity, the next audition. That way, if it doesn't happen, you've already forgotten it. If it does happen, it's a great surprise! Happy birthday to me! And that's kind of been my outlook for the whole thing. It's helped tremendously. Because you're not hanging on to anything. And then you're just like, you're left with that sense of rejection and like low self-worth in that whole circumstance. Because it's just a constant beating down your sense of self-esteem. But you have to know you're worth something, keep working hard, hold on to the people that are positive in your life and are sources of positivity that uplift you, keep you pushing forward, and work hard. It's a lot of work. So you want to be competitive in this field, you come out to LA, you're competing with me, motherfucker. And I welcome it. There's so many wonderful people in this industry that I've met, become close friends through it, and even if I don't book something and somebody else does, I'm glad that somebody got it. That is a good person, There's no real grudges held in that regard. I can't tell you how many jobs I've lost to Troy Baker, but he's great. He's fucking phenomenal. I love his work, and I can never begrudge him that, and I'm happy that he's doing so well. And that's just kind of the essence of the community. So it's very competitive, it's very hard, and you have to be ready to be competitive against really good people. But once you get there, it's a really cool place to be. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
You had a question? I'll get to you shortly, don't worry. I know it's coming.
I was actually, you mentioned that you were a huge Resident Evil fan. I just wanted to know what your favorite Wesker quote was.
I'm trying to remember which. I'm trying to remember any specific Wesker quotes. I tended to pay more attention to the bad VO stuff. I have plenty of Barry quotes. Barry quote. Probably just because I use it so often. I quote it so often. Like I'll cut my knee on something and be like, I hope this isn't Chris's blood. It's just so universally useful in any circumstance in your daily life. Kid scrapes his knee on the pavement outside. Like, are you okay, Chris? I hope this isn't Chris's blood. Your name Chris? Oh, it is your blood. Oh. I do admire the fact that for that entire game, every time you find Barry, he's investigating. You click on him and it's like, he's not looking at you. He doesn't give a shit what you're doing. He's like, Barry's investigating. It's the subtext. And then the really, really terrible first Resident Evil, when you beat the game in the good setting and you get away in the helicopter and you see Chris and Jill are both all beat up and live action footage. Back when they did that, I thought it was a really good idea to shoot real actors that weren't really actors. They're both like, they look at each other with a little smile like we made it, and then it goes over to Barry and he's holding his gun going, he's still investigating, he never stopped. Whole game. That's a true American hero. Barry for president, you heard that here. Thank you. Good. I'll take the applause on that one. You had a question. Is that with the back? Yes.
Aside from what you're doing, which you can't talk about right now, are there any roles that you'd be super excited to do?
Any roles I'd be super excited to do? Oh yeah.
Where are they? Share.
I mean, it's a little late because it's already been cast a long time ago, but if for whatever reason George Newbern got too busy and couldn't pick up the mantle, I would hop on the opportunity to voice Sephiroth in a second. I love that character for forever. I heard that Lord Masamune, whatever you pronounce his name, that guy was into it, right? Musadudi, that guy? If they ever did another Chrono Trigger game, I would kill people. They would die and be gone to voice Magus. Love that guy. So definitely him. And I'd love to be part of a Dark Souls game. I love that series. They always cast it in Europe. I don't know, because they want legitimate Brits. That's weird. But should they ever require someone over here in the stateside?
I mean, he did voice in Game of Thrones, so.
Well, I'd love it too, because I love Dark Souls series, but I really think their voice director needs some caffeine. It's every NPC you talk to in Dark Souls, they'll be in the middle of a heated battle, and you're like, welcome to this kingdom. Careful, there are demons around the corner, they may kill you. And that's every voice in Dark Souls. The only voice I like that is the Maiden in Black in the first Demon Souls game for PS3. She was awesome. I still to this day, this is how much of a nerd I am. Anyway, how many here played Demon Souls? Alright, so you'll know this chant well. Soul of the mind, key to life's ether. Souls of the lost, withdrawn from its vessel. Let strength be granted so Let strength be granted so the mind, so the life can be mended? So the world, here we go. So let strength be granted so the world can be mended. So the world might be mended. Yeah, she's awesome. Thank you. I used to say that quote over and over again to piss off my ex-girlfriend. I don't know why it pissed her off, but the fact that I did for no reason made it funny to me. So I just in the middle of making breakfast, I'll lean over her ear and be like, soul of the night. Like, stop it! We're not together anymore. But yeah, so those are some of the roles I can think of. Any other new questions? You in the back, and then we'll get to you, and then we'll ask you over here. You already asked questions, but I'll get to you. Hello.
I need to know for personal reasons what hair products do you use?
Whatever's available. I don't use conditioner. I've that super thin, fine hair where if I don't blow dry or do something with it, I look like I belong to a grunge band in Seattle in '93. So I just like a little bit of hairspray, shampoo. It's really stupid simple. I don't know. And if, Head and Shoulders, yes. Head and Shoulders is helpful. I am one of the flaky scalp regiment that is out there. If not treated properly, I tend to be a personal snow globe walking around. So Head and Shoulders is very useful. But nothing too particular. I don't know. The products I use are whatever's cheapest at my local grocery store. So my hair's probably all going to fall out by the time I'm 50. But that's fine. I had a good run. I'll give you a tutorial later. We'll do like a step-by-step YouTube video series. It'll be great. I show you how to like catch one in the wild and like strap it to your head. That's what I do. All right. Another question over here. New one? Yes, you said.
I wonder what the whole process was like for getting a character for Walter from Shin Megami Tensei 4, because I mean, it starts kind of normal and goes off the deep end, and you're almost the reason I went to Chaos in that game.
Oh, thank you. I like drawing people to chaos. If I can do anything in my life, it's pull people to the dark side, and I've done my job. So the question was, in Shin Megami Tensei 4, what was it like playing Walter, who starts pretty normal and then goes pretty off the deep end? It was fun. I like characters that have an arc, like a very clear arc in a game like that, especially a character that starts likable that you kind of want to like. And to be fair, your other choices are kind of, they're not as cool as Walter. Every other character you talk to is like, oh, we're students, we'll help out. And one was like, hey, how's it going? Hey, I got cool hair. Let's hang out sometime. And so you want to hang with Walter. And then halfway through the game, Walter's like, hey, by the way, you're with the devil, right? Devil's a cool sack. Chaos, yo. And you're like, I don't know about that. So it's fun to play that transition, to play like, a pleasant, approachable character, and then take him into that dark, more twisted, insane side. You don't often get a chance to play a character with such a fun arc, so I really relish that. I like villains. Villains are more fun. They get to really embrace it and sink your teeth into it. Heroes are fun too, but heroes are heroes. Their strength is how stalwart they are against the ever-changing world around them. Villains are the ones that allow themselves to be changed by the chaos, and that's where the real fun happens as an actor. So that was a really cool opportunity. Plus, as a longtime fan of the Shin Megami Tensei series, I was like, yeah, I can be part of this. And I like hitting Shin Megami Tensei in Persona. That was fun. And then having Fire Emblem as well, because apparently there's a Japanese game, Shin Megami Tensei X Fire Emblem, where the two worlds collide. And the producer of Fire Emblem, when we were going back to record for stuff on Smash Brothers, was telling me, so apparently there's a game where Fire Emblem and Shin Megami Tensei come together. If they end up dubbing it, there's a lot of scenes with Walter and Chrom together. So that'll be weird. I looked at him going, yeah.
If Johnny Young Bosch can do it, you can do it too.
It should be interesting. I hope if they do it, it'll be a fun challenge, because both characters aren't too different in the range. It's like a variation of my natural voice, but you never thought the two would ever collide, and they didn't think the two would ever collide. Suddenly you brought with that opportunity. It's like, this can be really awkwardly fun. So we'll see if that ever happens. Probably not. There's too many characters. It could be too expensive for them to dub a game with that many characters using the original cast. So we'll see if it ever happens. Fingers crossed, because I like money. Paying rent's cool, I guess. Not being thrown in the street. Sure knows. No, all right, next question. There's a question over you, sir, with the hat. You had a question?
Yeah, are you a huge Game of Thrones fan?
I am a huge Game of Thrones fan. I'm not the hugest Game of Thrones fan, only because I've had the books sitting on my shelf for a very long time and haven't had the time and opportunity to read them to their fullest extent, which kills me. But I love the series, and I own like 2 variations of the Fantasy Flight table games they've released. Like the big board one where you're like all taking over territories, and they also have the card game, which is kind of loosely Magic the Gathering based, but not. I don't know. So yeah, I like it. Is that your only question? I liked it.
Think of the previous season of Game of Thrones.
Oh, I think the previous season? I thought it was really cool. I don't want to say any spoilers, so I haven't seen it. I think there was a number of really great scenes that Peter Dinklage got to show that Destiny should not be what you rate him on as an actor. I'm a big fantasy fan. Like, I like sci-fi, I like ships, I like lasers, that's cool. Give me some fucking magic, some swords and sorcery, give me like some weird races, undead creatures, and I'm all over that. Like I said, I'm a DM and have been for 15 years, so that's right where I am. So I love Game of Thrones. I think it's really cool that they turn a lot of tropes on their heads, like that they take a lot of the classic hero journey moments and completely twist them. I like that a lot of what entertainment has built you up to expect from that type of genre-based television and tear that expectation from you and then laugh in your face as you're on the ground crying, going, why? And the show's like, because we can! And that to me is really cool, because you get to a point where you can expect it. And from what I know, it's deviated just enough from the books, or even those who are fans of the book series are also kind of like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And that to me, I think was a necessary step for the television show to be really successful, was to make it so that the entire watching base was like, what can we expect? So, I'm stoked. I thought the last season was pretty cool. It wasn't as cool as the season before that, with the Battle of Blackwater, because that was an incredible episode. But I think a lot of really necessary story bits unfolded this season, and the next season is going to be crazy. I think last season was more like a setup season. So, hope that comes back. All right, so let me check the time real fast, because I want to. I have 1 minute. What's up there? What panel's after this? Do we have a panel coming in after this?
No.
I'll go over, I don't care. 2 beers and some chai, let's do this. All right. We'll make this kind of rapid fire so I can get through as many questions as possible. You start to ask a question, then we'll get to you, then we'll get to you. Yes, this question.
So someone said that when you wake up in the morning, angels just come down and do your hair, and that's how it's false.
It's not true anymore. The angels used to come when I found how much you could harvest their organs for in the black market, they stopped coming. So I have a slowly dwindling cache of ground up angel lungs that keep this for now, but I only have about 3 or 4 years to go. So if you know anybody who has a connection, let me know. Here in this vicinity of Maryland. No, seriously, we'll talk after the panel. Question over here? Yes, hi.
As I understand it, Crom had very limited lines in Smash Bros. So how long was that recording session?
The recording session for Smash Bros. Was about 2 hours. And that encapsulated recording for the trailer. The delightfully sad trailer that I was so like when I walked in and recorded, I was like, they didn't tell me what it was for. They said, you're coming in for a Nintendo property. I'm like, okay, is it more Fire Emblem? They said Fire Emblem. I'm like, oh cool, is there like a DLC for it? I walk in, the producer's like, no, it's for Smash Brothers. I'm like, yes! Like, but you're not playable. Oh! Okay. But you're a Smash assistant. Oh, okay. But I was excited to even be part of it. And then when I got the trailer script for his whole, like, you know, maybe I'll have my chance next time, and, you know, he passes out. It was hilarious, and I was like, okay, this is really funny. I like that Crom has become the butt of the joke, and I'm gonna play up to that. So, recording the trailer, recording his lines for the pit sequence.
Final Smash.
No, the Final Smash as well, but also for like that, what's it called?
Paladin's guidance. Guidance thing.
Yeah, the guidance sequence where he's all about like, you know, you don't need me because I'm just a lowly swordsman type circumstance, and it's like, I'll help as soon as Robin gets that Smash Ball. That all took about 2 hours to record, to get a bunch of different takes, because they weren't quite sure how they wanted to present it. They wanted it to be like more boastful or more sheepish in certain lines. So we did a lot of variations to it. Like a lot of sessions, you don't just read a line. You'll read a line a lot of times 2 or 3 times in a row. And when they ask you to do that, it's not like read it the same 3 times. They want to hear some different takes on it. So the line will be like, don't worry, I'm coming to help you. You'll be like, don't worry, I'm coming to help you. Or, don't worry, I'm coming to help you. Or, don't worry, I'm coming to help you. And you'll just get those 3 variations. And then later on, when they actually plug it into the scene, they'll see what level of volume, what level of energy, intensity works best for that sequence. And final product tells you what they chose. So we did a lot of takes. That took about 2 hours total. So, boom. Question answered. I don't know why I did that. Any other questions? Yes, you said. We'll get to you.
You talked before about doing Walter, which is a character who like goes through a transition. When you voice video game roles, does it usually go like in chronological order of the game?
So for voicing video games, do we go chronologically usually? Occasionally. Not all the time. A lot of times we'll go out of order and we'll pick things from earlier in the game, and later in the game we'll just kind of mix it up. Partially because scripts aren't ready, or because the character might sound better to have more experience at an earlier time, or like it's harder for you to really draw subtext of a character's dark past if you haven't been told or lived through some of that dark past. So if a character has that type of underlying brimming energy, they might have you do some of the darker, messed up stuff first, so that when you go back to record the start of the game, you know where you're going, and you know what that character is kind of keeping close to their chest. So sometimes it's an acting choice. Sometimes the director wants you to have that experience going back to the beginning, so you can kind of play that subtext into your performance. Not all the time. So it can vary. I prefer to go chronologically because to me I feel like I'm experiencing it with the character, but for some performances, it might require a little bit of that kind of out of order jumping. So it depends. Next question. We have you haven't asked a question yet? With you. Oh, I know you. What's up, buddy?
I have a question.
Yes.
What would you say, in a very general way, what's your audition process? Is there anything, any tricks?
Tricks for the audition process. Read the material. There are a lot of actors that are in a rush, or they get comfortable and they just kind of cold read through it. Cold reading is great skill to have because a lot of sessions you don't get the script in advance. They just kind of throw it on you and you're like, all right, your character's 27, your parents were killed by demons, so you have a giant sword, go. And you just kind of have to, off the cuff, go through the script and deliver, which is where a lot of the acting classes and making strong choices and interpreting copy based on little information come in really handy. But tips for auditioning, reading the material, if it's a pre-existing property, researching on Google to see if there's any information about it out there so you get a feel for the world, a feel for the scope of it. You know, if it's a fantasy game versus a shooting game, they're going to have very different types of reads and feels. A fantasy game might be more whimsical, Lord of the Rings style, whereas a shooting game might be more, you know, cinematic, more gritty, kind of Gears of War style. So a little bit of research, if it's available, is cool. And then any character you're given, which they can range. Sometimes they'll be like, here is a 2.5-page diatribe about your entire character history, which is great. Sometimes too much, but great. And there's some that are like, once again, you're 30, your parents were killed by demons, you have a big sword. So you kind of have to either create a universe where that character exists if you don't have it at your disposal, or create in your mind where they're coming from and where they're going. So you'll have a scene, but don't just play the scene. Imagine and kind of make up for yourself what they were doing before that scene, what led them to that moment, and what their goal is after the scene. That way when you step in, it sounds like you've stepped into the middle of a sequence, which to me makes it generally more believable and more enthralling as an audition. Second, don't just read the lines. If you have the opportunity, find places for little character moments, whether it be reactions, chuckles. If there's any of the script notes tell you the character sits down, don't be afraid to say the line while sitting. It's a difference between going like Yoga says, like, you know, the character says a line and then he sits down and then says, but sure, I'll help you out. You can read it as, but sure, I'll help you out. Or you can read it as, but sure, I'll help you out. Just that little bit of effort of sitting, all of a sudden puts in their mind the character sitting down. It makes it come to life. Those little moments you can find in the script that kind of breathe a little more reality into that character. That's very important for animation and also for motion capture, like early voiceover auditions when they're leading it down, because they want to know that you can encapsulate the character's physicality in the scene. A lot of animation works really well, and the fact that you can find moments where all the character notes on the side, he runs around screaming, happy, excited, you can go ahead and do that as its own take, or you can incorporate that into the line. So just find little moments, little beats where you have the opportunity to improvise some character reactions and some exerts and some laughs and some shrugs, anything that you think would help take those very, very usually dismally written lines that they give you in the audition and bring a little more life to it, and that helps you stand out above the rest of the crowd of the people that are just reading the lines as they are. So those are a few tricks, if at all. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's not even whether or not you're better than other people, it's whether or not you made the choices that give the sound that they didn't know they were looking for. So it's a craps game, a lot of it, as you know. But yeah, just those I found really handy and have definitely given me a little more of an oomph when it comes to my booking rate for projects going forward. And then we'll take a few more questions here, and then we'll bring this panel to a close. Thank you for enduring my rambling and my beer chugging.
And burping.
So I think next couple questions. You have a question? And we'll get to you, sir. You'll be the final question of the panel, which I think is very fitting.
So in a lot of your games, characters will often have like kind of weird exchanges. Like what comes to my mind is like Brazilian Bazongas. What is it like reading the script and then like doing it with the other actors? Is it like super awkward, or you're just like?
It's for silly scenes and certain points of dialogue that kind of come out of the left field. It's really, if they're written well, it's really funny. If they're written poorly, it's even funnier. And you get a little bit of both. For Exilio, which by the way, the scriptwriters in that were phenomenal, and I really love the way they worked on the character interactions. The Bazongas cutscene, a number of cutscenes in there, like the whole talk about Amelia and her outfit, like, well, I guess she really is in the bondage. You know, like little inside jokes there, which are a lot of fun. But like a lot of video games are recorded solo, you know, each actor at a time as opposed to a group recording, because with such a large number of lines recorded, it's not as financially viable to have everyone in the booth do a read together, because then you have to pay everyone for that work, each maybe doing about a sixth of the work they would do if they were solo. So unfortunately for a lot of that, it's by ourselves. If we're lucky, other actors have recorded before me, and then I'll have a chance to hear what they've already recorded so I can play off of it, but it's not always the opportunity. So a lot of those are kind of like thrown out into the darkness in the hope that they land. That's another thing where the experience comes into play, because then you can kind of imagine their performances and kind of play off of their dialogue as you would envision it. But it's a lot of fun. It's a great time, and when you have the opportunity to work with other actors on a pre-laid cartoon or I've had a couple video game properties, they've had a couple of us record together, it's a whole different level of energy. You can just play off of each other, which is great. But then every now and then you get some lines that are unintentionally funny. Like, I'll pretend this note. There was a game I did a few years ago called Fist of the North Star, Cleanse Rage. Where I voiced a character named Ray with the green mullet, cut people apart with his fingers, you know, like you do. And which, by the way, was another huge nerd boner for me, because one of the first, probably the first voiceover gig I ever worked on was doing background Walla and voices in the Fist of the North Star television series. So that was a huge kind of return to form for me. But I guess the script writers hadn't quite fully adapted it to the English audience yet, or the producer that was the filter for the proper adaptation from the translation didn't pay attention to this line, and we're just like cruising through the script line after line, just trying to get through it. And as he cuts people apart with his fingers, there was one line that I just cold read on the spot as we're charging through, as he jumps into battle with his hands out, and I read out loud, "There's no way you can keep me from getting my fingers inside you." There's like a long pause. I slowly turn my head to the director. Director slowly turned his head to me. Slowly turned his head to the producer. Producer slowly turned his head to the director. Director slowly turned his head back to me. Pressed the intercom, was like, "Hold tight, we're gonna go ahead and workshop that for a minute." Yeah, they didn't make it the final product, but it changed the whole feel of that sequence. It became an entirely different, in some cases, much cooler character. Yeah, so that happened. It'll be fun. All right, and final question. This strange gentleman in the back. All right, so for those who aren't familiar, many years ago there was a small internet sketch where a bunch of cool people trolled somebody who was terrible on a forum. Trolled him by creating an erotic role-playing forum, and then pretend to be like a table or a flagon of ale and mess with him because he was a terrible person. He left, so we succeeded, but we were kind of sad once he left because we had nothing else to troll. So we decided to immortalize this through a video, which is readily available on YouTube. And to prepare for the role of the table on this role, I spent a lot of time in local lumber establishments, running my fingers along fine, fir trees and soft pine, hardwoods like cherry wood, beech wood for the lighter time, to find where my soul was really residing there. And once that was completed, I first went to an IKEA, but I found that a lot of the particle board there just didn't have the same soulful feel. It's not the same. It really, thank you. So after that, I felt kind of lost from it. I was trying to find myself, trying to ground myself in this role. And I was walking down Melrose in LA and came across this antique furniture store that had this fantastic dark oak coffee table that I think it was made in the early 1920s. That very kind of grandmother, mothball, musty scent to it, which to me meant that authenticity was truly available. So I spent a good hour and a half just with the table, kind of just holding it, feeling it, running my fingers along the fine grain of the wood. And after a while, it finally hit me, like, this is what I'm trying to encompass. So I took a photo with the table, and for the next few days to prepare for it, I made sure that I didn't have it far from me, so whenever I found myself lost in the ether of self-questioning, the photo was there to reground me and remind me, like, no, I must be as the table. My performance? Okay. A couple lines as the table and the Villar's are like role-playing sketch. I remember one of the lines now. It's been a while
as I enjoyed the feeling of the fine elvish folk wandering by as they played beneath my bough and sometimes peed along my trunk. I like the peeing the best. But I was a table now. I couldn't think of such long And on that note, I think a fine way to bring this panel to a close. Thank you all for coming. Feel free to check your schedules. We have more panels coming through the weekend. Me and a brother voice. I think we have another Geek Life panel tomorrow at some point. We have a few other voiceover panels and a Voice of Palooza this weekend. So enjoy, game hard, drink hard if you're of legal age. Have a great time, guys, and hopefully see you around the rest of the weekend. Enjoy.